Hello and welcome back to the weekly host challenge with Classical Pairings. I'm your host, Nick Johnson, and what we're doing right now during quarantine is every week Classical Music Indy is sending me a piece of music by a local composer and a local spirit that you can pick up with curbside pickup. I'm coming up with cocktails that I think in some way pair with the piece of music. Today we're going to be featuring 8th Day Distillery's gin. We're going to be making a cocktail of a strawberry shrub and gin. And we're going to be listening to a piece of music by Gabrielle Cerberville, a local composer. This piece is called Messier 83, or maybe it's Messier 83, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, we're going to have a lot of fun pairing this cocktail with this music. So let's just get started. So for this piece of music, I've decided to pair it with a gin and strawberry shrub. So for this, you're going to first of all need a strawberry shrub. I will be talking to you just a minute about how to make that at home. And you're going to need some gin. For this, I'm using 8th Day Distillery's gin. You're going to need some ice and some strawberries, and that's about it. This is a very simple drink once you've made the shrub. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about this. So a shrub is sometimes called a drinking vinegar. It is it's risen in popularity very rapidly over the last few years. And it's very simple to make this at home, and you will be surprised at how amazingly good this tastes. So we made this a few days ago, and what we did was we took 1 cup of apple cider vinegar and 1 cup of sugar. We melted those together. So this is sort of similar to a simple syrup, except that we're using apple cider vinegar instead of water. So we mix those up until the sugar is melted, and then I added in about 2 cups of just chopped up strawberries. And then for about 10 minutes, I just stirred and let the strawberries break down into the shrub. Once they're good and sort of dissolved and mushy, we just let it cool for a while, and then we strained the strawberries out, and what we're left with is this sort of thick and syrupy, you can kind of see it stick to the bottle there. It's a very sweet, but also tart and astringent, and really a fascinating taste. If this was summer and our garden was going, I would have probably thrown some basil or some mint into the shrub with it to make a strawberry mint shrub or a strawberry basil shrub. We didn't have any, so we went with just strawberries, and that's just fine. So this is something you can make at home, and it will keep for quite a while. Although it's so delicious, we had to keep ourselves from drinking the rest of this before we filmed this thing because it's really quite delicious. So to make this cocktail, after you have the shrub, it's really simple. It's basically a gin and tonic, and we're using a shrub instead of the tonic water. So first you just need a highball glass with some ice. That's a little too much, there we go. We're gonna do 2 shots of gin. Again, this is 8th Day Distillery's gin. It is, I'm not gonna lie, it is a pretty powerful gin. It's a little bit higher proof. This one's a 90 proof gin, but it has some really nice citrus notes on the back end of it, and it makes for some really delicious cocktails because it's a gin that can stand up to like anything you're gonna throw at it, even something as astringent as apple cider vinegar shrub. So we have 2 ounces of gin, and now we just add an ounce of shrub. You can even see it pouring, it's kind of thick. Mix that in there. Now this has, it's kind of a sharp vinegar smell at first, but the sugar and the strawberry broke down to make it into this really thick, delectable type of flavor. You've got to give this a good stir to get it all mixed through because the shrub's a little bit thicker than the gin, but that's okay. We'll just stir it for a while. This is also chilling it as we do. Once that's nice and stirred, for a garnish, I really just like mixing in a couple sliced strawberries and just sort of letting them float in there with the ice, just to give it a little bit more strawberry on the nose and the smell of it as you're drinking it. So there we go. This is a gin and strawberry shrub. All right. The taste of this, it's so good. When you smell this vinegar shrub by itself, and then when you taste the gin by itself, you're going to be shocked at how well these work together. The sugar and the strawberry kind of give it this sweet note, but there's this astringent and kind of biting sharpness to the apple cider vinegar that complements the herbal nature of the gin and sort of the juniper taste of it. And they work together just gorgeously. For a drink that is sort of, it's a little thick and syrupy, but it's also very sweet, but then it cleans off with the kind of tart finish that you get. So now that you have your cocktail in hand, let's go ahead and listen to this piece of music by Gabrielle Cerberville. So she is a local composer and a multimedia artist. If you go to her website, GabrielleCerberville.com, you will see that not only does she do music, but she does really beautiful avant-garde improvisatory scores that she's put a couple examples of that you can go look at. And they're just these works of art that are not just for the ears, but also for the eyes, and it's really impressive. And so with this piece, Messier 83, it is definitely more of kind of an avant-garde type of piece. It's for violin and piano together. And we're going to hear some extended techniques in the violin right away. But what I really like about this piece is it's the way it approaches kind of extended avant-garde techniques. Because there's kind of two ways that composers go at the avant-garde, the cutting edge, writing music that's very progressive. They can either do it with sort of lots of mathematics and formulas and a very sort of intellectual type of avant-garde, or they can approach it in sort of an emotional human way of trying to express an emotion that the existing musical vocabulary is just not capable of expressing. And it's in the second camp that I would put this piece, and this tends to be the type of avant-garde music that I enjoy the most. Because even if parts of it strike your ear at first as maybe just a little dissonant or a little shocking, once you understand that there's emotion being communicated in this music that you couldn't do with like the musical language of Beethoven or something, then it gives you kind of a new appreciation of this style of avant-garde music. And that's what jumped out and really struck me about this piece. You can find it on her webpage. You can also find this work on Spotify. When I was trying to come up with a cocktail that I thought matched this, I wanted something that had something immediately unusual about it. And if you've not had a shrub, it's interesting having a cocktail where one of the first things you smell is vinegar, because that's not something that you would normally think you're going to like. I don't really like I don't do balsamic vinegar on my salads or anything. But there's something about this that is just really delicious because it hits you with the vinegar, but then you get this sort of smooth and sweet coating over it. And I kind of hear that, especially in the violin line of this piece, where you're struck with this sort of astringent type of sound, but then there's these romantic moments that give it this human touch and this emotion that kind of smooths it all over. And you're given an experience that is kind of different maybe than anything you've had. And I think maybe there's something very interior about this piece. Like, it was written long before this quarantine period, but I think it kind of works well for the emotional roller coasters that we're all going through right now. The ups and downs of worrying about the world and, missing our friends, but also having time to pursue some of our hobbies or recreation if we have the mindset to do it. And so I think this piece kind of matches the time, and I think this cocktail works well with it. So as you're drinking this and listening, just sort of think about how we're kind of getting the bitter and the sweet together in just some sort of new creation that we've not had before. So let's go ahead and listen to Messier 83. Cheers. All right, I hope you have enjoyed this work by Gabrielle Cerberville. So this Messier 83 is this beautiful composition, sort of the emotional side of the avant-garde. Go check out the rest of the piece and poke around our website a little bit. You'd be surprised some of the works that you're going to uncover. We've mixed this today with a strawberry shrub and gin. The gin was from 8th Day Distillery. You can swing by and grab that with curbside pickup on the weekends. And the drink gives you the sort of contemplative, astringent, but then smooth and sweet that I think this piece of music gives us. And so I think they pair really well together. We're going to be doing this every week for a little while. So come check us out every Friday. Go check out season 1 of Classical Pairings and keep an eye out for season 2 as soon as we're able to do so. So thank you so much from Classical Music Indy. Cheers.